The Xbox Drive is fueled by patrons at patreon.com/YouMeCapri, and I want to thank everybody who supports us over there and give a special thank you to our Capremium producers, Dallas Ford, Drew Agnew from the House of Mario podcast, Jace Baldridge from twitch.tv/Baccaridge, Lee Navarro, the fearless leader of the Phoenix Overdrive Extra Life team, and Jonathan Brown at youtube.com/GamingPurpleMonkey. Our platinum producers, Brian Scott, Dano, and Trucker Sloth, and our gold members, Argo, Brendan Myers, Dallas Robbins, Emily O'Kelly, Heather Boney, James Johnson, Joel Brooks, Jose Jimenez, Mac Time, Marcus O'Neill, RJ Kern, Skinny Matt, and Xavier Reyes. Now, on with the show. Hey everyone, it's me, Sean Capri. I'm in my car, and you're listening to the most horsepowerful podcast on the internet. It's the Xbox Drive. I'm on a Skype call with my friend, Ryan Turford. He's the man on the moose, and on our journey today, Xbox is making so much money, and that benefits us not really at all, but it's exciting to talk about, so jump on into the Xbox Drive. Blah, 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 blah.
Greater than X.
Hello, Sean Capri.
Hi, Ryan Turford. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well. I'm a little bit tired because man, it's been packing all week, getting ready to move. Obviously, if you're watching the video version of the podcast right now, you might notice things look a little bit different because the shelf behind me is completely empty. There's boxes all the way up to the roof, pretty much on the other side of me. Because last week there was boxes behind the camera where you couldn't see them, but the camera was on like this weird angle. But now I've kind of moved things around, and now there's boxes on both sides of the camera.
There's no hiding it. There's no hiding it. You're moving. You're in the middle of a move. This is a big deal, man. You're actually able to work from outside of Toronto. You got a beautiful place that you're moving into. You're gonna have better internet. Like, man, I'm so excited for you.
Yeah, me too. I'm just excited just to get it over with too, because
Sure.
packing for anyone who hasn't packed in a while. Packing's no fun, especially if you've got
sucks.
like a giant collection of video games. It's just like a huge hassle. But yeah, you're gonna see me in some new surroundings next week. It probably will be very plain Jane because I'll probably still be unpacking. But at least it'll be in a whole new apartment, which is exciting. But Sean, we gotta get the show on the road. Let's clean the garage a little bit because we had a lot of stuff to kind of promote this week. So of course, if you'd like to support the show, if you like what we do, please consider subscribing to us right here, youtube.com/the Xbox Drive. You can also subscribe to us on your podcast feed of your choice. Also, you can leave a little podcast review if you'd like on your podcast service of choice. All that stuff goes a really long way in helping the show out. And we've got an Apple Podcast review to read in a bit. I'm going to get to that in a second. You can also support us as well on patreon.com/YouMeCapri. You can get early access to this show. It's not a huge amount of early access. It's about a day, but you get that little bit of early access. But you also get exclusive content because we just did a version of the Xbox Drive, but all about Nintendo with you and Kato, Sean, which is up on Patreon now. We're doing a pilot of the PlayStation Drive, which is coming next month with Matt, who I just announced is the co-host for that show yesterday. So you're going to hear more about him pretty soon. And we want to welcome all of our newest patrons as well. Thanks to, of course, the Kato effect, as Sean calls it, of the Nintendo Drive. We're going to welcome Kim Bailey, Leona Quang, Console Kato, Claire McNee, and Bowser. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining the Patreon. Sorry if I butchered some of your names. I'm not good at pronunciations, but that's okay. We had to get it done. Also, additionally, Sean, we're going to continue to clean the garage because we've got more plugs as well. Thank you so much to everyone on Twitter who actually responded to Jez Corden's Twitter post. He was asking for what the best Xbox podcasts are around because he's putting a big article together for Windows Central. And so many of y'all answered the call and mentioned the Xbox Drive. Also mentioned the Xbox Empire as well. I think we were pretty neck and neck as far as people saying that they like us and like the Xbox Empire. Regardless of who you choose, though, you've chosen quality right there. So thank you so much,
dude,
for supporting us.
And I'll just weigh in here too because I think that's going to go a long way for it just brings us on so many other people's radar when you go ahead and promote the show and share that you're enjoying it. Obviously, it pumps our tires, and makes us feel really good. But I don't know if Jez is aware of our show. I know he's aware of the Xbox Empire, but that's a huge help. So thank you so much to everybody who did that.
Yeah, for sure. And last but not least, Sean, you were on another Xbox podcast this week. Tell me about that.
Can you believe it? Yeah. Luke Lore from the Xbox Expansion Pass invited me on to his show, and he was just telling me, just actually a little while ago, he's like, yeah, your show's doing actually really good. So, which I guess a lot of people are enjoying that episode. So it was good to reunite with Luke. It's actually been a while since I've podcasted with him. Of course, longtime listeners of the Xbox Drive will know Luke as the previous co-host on the Xbox Drive. So if you want to check me out and hear me talk even in a longer form about Xbox, and we talked about the iOS and the xCloud coming to PC and everything, go check out the Xbox Expansion Pass. And he had an amazing interview as well, coupled with my chat with him. A great developer interview on that as well. So yeah, people should definitely go check that out. It was fun to talk to Luke again.
Yeah, for sure. It was a really good episode. So I'm glad you guys did that. And I mean, Sean Capri brings the hype. Everyone knows that. So that's why it's getting so many clicks. Sean.
I bring the toilet talk. Luke has a very smart. He's a very intelligent and well-spoken person. I'm here like, you can play Xbox games on the toilet with your phone now. And Luke's like, yeah. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, I love, like, if I would have been able to see the video of Luke, I just imagine just deadpan stare of him.
Just facepalm, like, why did I do this? Yeah.
Just instant regret. Well, Sean, I mentioned before Apple Podcast reviews. So we actually got an Apple Podcast review this week from xClax. I hope I pronounced that correctly. It's a weird word. Anyways, the review says, funny and fun is what the review is called. Great show. Love to listen to the guys talk about all things Xbox. Love the energy. If you love Xbox and you got time to listen to it, listen to the podcast. So thank you so much for the kind words. And in fact, we got a bunch of Apple Podcast reviews pretty recently. So we're going to be reading them over the course of the next couple of weeks. So you can expect to hear more of these. And also, if you leave one on Apple Podcast for us, we will read it on the show. So you can definitely get in there to do that. But enough about all that, Sean. Let's grab our 8 tracks, pop them in. It's time for the playlist. And we played some games this week. Not many games, but we definitely played some games. So, Sean, you start us off. What did you play this week?
Well, I finished, Ryan. I've completed another game. Can you believe it? I finished Tell Me Why. I think I was talking about it last week. I was playing on iOS. I was just kind of getting the cloud thing going. And then I'm like, man, this thing is really capturing me. It's really, it totally had its hooks in me, and I really love the story. I love I had to go back and listen to more content about it. Like, it was that good of an experience for me, where I'm like, I want to listen to the review that you and Donnie did on this game, and people should definitely check that out, because everything he said is like spot on. I thought they did a wonderful job of telling an interesting story. I think the puzzles in it were excellent. I guess the only thing that I would say in closing, Ryan, is just like, I don't know that I was expecting sort of like a M. Night Shyamalan twist, and the twist sort of like disappointed. And that's really the only thing that I would say. But otherwise, it's like, it was such a memorable experience, and I do think that there's a lot of different paths that people could take. Like the agency that you have in this game and the results that can happen, it seems like there's a variety of different, not necessarily endings, but journeys that you can take. And I'm interested to maybe revisit the game in like a year or so and make some purposefully different decisions and just kind of see what happens. And I feel like that's a hallmark of really any game like this, where you're making choices and it's very narrative driven.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I know for a fact the thing that you say about the twist, yeah, that's 100% correct. I do think that, like, Don't Nod's games, the other Life is Strange games in particular, like, I think the twists in those games are a little bit better than the one we found here in Tell Me Why. And yeah, the with the endings too, like, I know when Donnie and I talked about it after we both played it, we had 2 like very, very different endings. So
interesting.
I'm interested to hear what your ending is. Obviously, don't say it here, but because we don't want to spoil things. But yeah, I'm interested to know, because I've from talking to people, I think there were like 10 or 12 different endings you could get for that game that were like very different from each other. So yeah, I'm really interested to know what you got, or if anyone else has checked it out.
I would say that it was positive. I would say that they was on the positive end. I think things can get kind of nasty, or maybe like the twins don't really like each other, maybe. I don't know if that's too spoilery. I think that, like, I ended up with them liking each other, if that's okay to say.
I ended up with more of a negative ending, Sean, if you can believe it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I came to really like the 2 of them. I like how different they were, even though they were twins. I like just amazing performances here as well. But dude, I you know me, I was thinking like I was going to get around to this at some point, but I just never really got to it. And once I did, it was the right time. I'm glad I didn't force that experience, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hi there. Can I please get a medium decaf with 2 Splenda? Oh, and are there Pokemon cards?
Sorry, what's that?
Are there Pokemon cards that I see?
Only if you order Happy Meal.
Okay, I'll get a Happy Meal as well, please.
Which Happy Meal?
Just a cheeseburger.
Fries or apple slices?
Apple slices are great.
And the drink?
Diet Coke.
Anything else?
That is all.
$6.75 first one.
Thank you.
You had to get the Pokemon cards, didn't you, Sean?
I don't think that they were there yesterday when we recorded the Nintendo Drive, but we're absolutely getting Pokemon cards. They just spent an additional $7 at the freaking drive-through for a little gag that we do here on the show, my friend. But yeah,
like those Pokemon cards are like shooting up on the secondary market right now, Sean. Like,
that's what I hear. I heard that.
Probably $7 back for some of them.
As an investment, that's what it is. I was saying that I was glad that I didn't force the game because sometimes we feel like we should just play whatever's new and whatever's next. And I recognized that this was a game that people said was good. And it was just like, I needed it at the right time. You know, like I had an opening. I just kind of, and it is what I genuinely wanted to play. And it was available on iOS. It just, the stars aligned. Yeah, on the Happy Meal. Yep, absolutely. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was, I think a big catalyst for you playing this game finally was being able to play it on your phone. Like, maybe this is the type of game you probably would have, like, never given a chance to if you didn't play it in your home setting. And again, a game like this, or like Life is Strange 2, for example, or any of these Telltale-style games, like, I think, like, are perfect for phone play for xCloud. So it was really.
Do you want to do a spoiler cast? Like, we should maybe, I don't know if it's part of a show or it doesn't have to be content, but I would love, as you mentioned, like I'd love to talk to you about your endings. I'd love to talk to Donnie about his. Like that's kind of where I'm at with it. It's when games hit me like that, I want to talk to people about it. I want to go seek out spoiler conversations and things like that. Like that's, I don't know. That's how it was with The Last of Us. Thank you so much. And my Happy Meal. Thank you. I got a freaking happy. Are the cards inside here, Ryan? Like I don't know. I don't know how you're supposed to answer that.
I was just saying, I don't know how I'm going to know this, but because I mean, I haven't added McDonald's in a while, but yeah, Pokemon cards. It's exciting. Also, Sean, I know you've been playing the Outer Worlds. So how far are you in that?
Yeah, I'm back to where I was prior to. I've played it before, but I kind of stopped playing, I don't know, a couple hours into it. I got off a Halcyon. No, that's the system. I got off the first planet. I think it's called Terra 2. Right. And I'm headed off to some sort of spaceship station next door. And dude, like the reason I jumped back into this one is because now it's upgraded and optimized for Series X. It's got the FPS boost. Everything looks so much better than it did on the One X. Like Donnie and I were talking on our podcast called Sweet Hangs, and I was like, I could have played it on my One X, but I was playing it on my PC because I was getting a performance boost there. Mm-hmm. But I don't always want to be playing games on my PC. I've talked about this in the past. So now the Outer Worlds is on Series X. It has the performance boost. Everything looks and plays so great. And I'm like, I am head over heels in love with this game, dude. Like I'm so glad. I feel like I'm going from like one game to the next, where when I was playing Tell Me Why, it's all I wanted to play. There was no doubt in my mind when I sat in my chair I was going to fire that game up. And now I have the exact same thing with the Outer Worlds. Like, this is the experience I want. I don't want it to be buggy. I don't want it to be framey. I don't want the long load times, and none of that is an issue anymore. And it's a colorful game. I'm playing it a little bit differently than I normally do with these type of Western RPGs. Like I'm taking I'm leveling up all my speech and my intelligence and my engineering skills, like all my tech and hacking skills, my nunchuck skills, of course. But I'm not looking to have like a beefy like DPS style character. I want to talk my way through things, and it's so satisfying in this game. The dialogue is so great. It's the guys over at Iron Lords podcast had the developers from the Outer Worlds on, and that also inspired me to start playing this. And they were talking about some of their inspiration for like the character development and the writing. And one of them had mentioned that Futurama was one of those things, like Simpsons, Futurama, that type of style. That makes
so much sense in hindsight.
So much sense. Yes. Yeah, so I have that like new lens to appreciate this game through, and that's kind of where I'm at right now, man. I'm back into a bit of a single player experience that I'm doing when I'm not streaming over at twitch.tv/Sean Capri. I'm a happy boy playing my video games, man.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, Outer Worlds too, one thing that's nice about it is it's not like a Fallout where it's not super long. Like this is a very much a Sean Capri manageably sized game. Like you can probably finish most of the game in about 20 hours. So
yeah, Chelsea played through it. My wife played through it when it came out actually back in the day. So I'm excited by it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, this is totally like the type of game that I know is totally up your alley. So I was very surprised when you told me that you had never finished it before. But I'm glad that you're finally playing it now because, I know that you're going to probably love it from start to finish. As for me, I played a very Ryan Turford game this week, Sean. I played NieR Replicant version 1.22474487130 ... That's the name of the game.
Why are you letting me go on and on about my garbage? Like man, I'm so excited to hear about this game. Holy
garbage!
Crap.
You've had two really good games.
Very good games. I know, but they're not new, and I'm very excited to hear.
No,
about
the reason
this
I
game,
went last actually is because NieR Replicant I have hardly put any time into it this week because I've been busy.
Sure.
So I'm only a couple hours in.
I'm only 35 hours in.
Yeah. So I'm only like 2.5. So when I say
sure. Oh, okay. So you really mean it. Okay.
NieR Replicant, of course, a remake of the Japanese version of NieR, because there were two different versions of NieR when NieR came out on the 360. There was the North American version just called NieR, which was essentially about like this like dad who goes on this whole quest. I'm not going to get into that, but it's this whole other story. And then there was NieR Replicant, which was the Japanese version, which followed like these kids going to basically find this cure for this guy's sister's disease. Essentially, she's basically dying from it. So NieR Replicant.
So these are humans. These are actually humans. Because NieR Automata, they're robots. They're androids.
Because this is like way in the distant past, before NieR Automata happens. So the world isn't completely messed up, and it's not just this big machine wasteland. It's like almost like a futuristic fantasy setting, if that makes any sense, where there's a lot of monsters, but there's also a lot of technology as well. So, and that I think all the events kind of lead into NieR Automata more so in this game versus the Xbox, the version of NieR that we got here. I think that's why they re-released this version, basically to give people kind of almost like a prequel to NieR Automata in a lot of ways. In fact, some of the extra content they added to this game apparently links the two games much closer together. So I think that's what I'm most excited to see from this game. Again, I've never played the original because, again, it only came out in Japan. So I'm actually really excited I'm playing it now. It's got a very old school vibe to it. Like, you can definitely tell that this is kind of an older game that they've kind of polished up, especially with some of the environments too, which can either look really pretty or kind of look kind of
empty,
and bland or barren. Yeah.
I've seen Andrew Semichek from We the Nerdies Twitch channel. He's streaming it over there, and I'm like, my thoughts exactly. Like, it kind of looks a little bit older, a little bit wide, almost too wide open. But on the story front, man, like, is it like maybe I'm remembering it, not correctly, but like, weren't the humans like gone? Like, isn't
the humans were gone in Automata, but they're still around in this version. Yeah. So it's like something happens between the two games that happens that basically eradicates the humans. So, and I think that's what the story's going to dive into later in the game. Again, I'm not that far in it, so I haven't reached that quite yet. But I'm excited to see how all that happens because, again, I love NieR Automata. It was one of my favorite games last generation, so I'm really excited to see kind of how the story is going to link together between these two games. The combat, though, Sean, the combat is superb in this game. Still really holds up. It's still very similar to NieR Automata's combat, where you've got the mix of melee skills, and then you've got your ranged abilities, and you've also got magical attacks.
Your little drone guy that's floating around you.
But instead of a drone in this, you've got a book that helps you instead, like as a magic book that
makes
shoots
sense.
magic bullets and stuff. But it works the same as the robot does in NieR Automata. So the combat itself, very similar to that game. Still really fun to hack and slash a lot of the enemies. Again, you're not fighting robots this time. You're fighting a lot of different animals or other humans or like magical things. Like you fight like a couple statues and stuff. So yeah, I'm really enjoying the game so far. Again, I'm not going to dive too much deeper into it now, just because, again, I'm not very far in it, but I'm really enjoying what I played so far, and I'm excited to see more. And just like NieR Automata 2, there's multiple endings, and it encourages you, like the real way to play is to play through it multiple times. So I'm interested to see how all the different endings are going to differ from each other. So there you go. That's NieR Replicant. Very excited. It's finally here, just in time for Resident Evil coming out next week, because that's going to kind of occupy my time starting next Friday. So enough about that. Let's slam the brakes on this conversation. It's time for some breaking news, and we didn't really get too many news stories this week, but we want to dive into what's there. So first bit of news, Sean, we got this week is Dragon Quest Builders 2 is coming to Xbox and Windows 10 PC and Xbox Game Pass on May 4th. This was a game that kind of like Minecraft, but with the Dragon's Quest kind of flair to it. I didn't really play it back in the day, but I know you did, Sean. So are you excited at all that this is coming to Xbox?
Well, I mean, a lot of Switch games are kind of, I mean, not a lot, but like a couple notable ones for sure. This one and Octopath Traveler just came over as well. Like this whole Square thing is kind of a big deal. So things are starting to pile up and an interesting little relationship happening there. But Ryan, for people who have not played this, and I think you as well, like I think you would love this game. I thought it was absolutely adorable. It's super charming, especially in the first like area that you're in. You basically like get stranded on an island, and you've got to collect materials and make friends and build things and ward off evil whatever creatures and stuff. But it does have a very Minecraft-esque look to it. But with exactly as you said, like with the Dragon Quest type of music. And for me, like I'm not really big into Dragon Quest, but this is something that's a bit of an on-ramp for me where I go, I kind of like what's happening here. I like the music. I like how this looks and how it all feels. And I've played it on Switch, so I'm kind of torn where I'm like, I stopped playing it, but it's coming to Game Pass, so I pick it back up on Xbox because I know on the PlayStation side of things, like it performed way better. Like the Switch definitely, it felt like a Switch game. So I have to imagine that when it comes to Xbox, like this game is going to look and sound and perform really, really well. So it's a big deal for anybody who hasn't played it. I'm a little torn on exactly what I'm going to do with this news, but I think I'm just more so excited by like the momentum that's happening with Square and all these Japanese games and with Game Pass. Like it's all coming together, my friend.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. And while I'm not super excited probably to play this now, especially with the games that we have coming out over the next couple weeks, because there's a lot of really big ones that I'm excited about. I am excited for just like you, about the prospect of so many Japanese games from Square coming to Game Pass and kind of that relationship kind of build a little bit, like Octopath Traveler. And I love too that it's day and date. Like the fact that it's coming to Xbox day and date with Game Pass, I think it's a great move for the game, and definitely is going to probably put a lot more eyes on the game as well that probably wouldn't have seen it before. Just like Outriders, where we heard a lot of great stuff about Outriders from NPD this week, talking about how it was the third best-selling game on Xbox, despite the fact that it was also on Game Pass. But they'd also reached like over 1 million Game Pass downloads. So I mean, it's a big deal for Square Enix, and I think they're starting to see kind of what's the benefits of Game Pass. So yeah, I love to see stuff like this happen. So even though Dragon Quest Builders 2 is not a game that I foresee myself playing right away, I do know that maybe in the next year, because it'll probably stay on Game Pass for a year, I'll probably check it out at some point. So
you should. Yeah. Whether it's new to a new game altogether or new to the platform, like I think day and date to Xbox is such a huge move. And, I think our expectations are kind of shifting here, Ryan. Like this is kind of like we kind of expect this now that the games come day and date to Game Pass, man. I think it's a big deal. Yeah.
Especially if they were on Switch or PlayStation 4 first. Like I would imagine that any other ports like this that we get from Square are going to be day and date with Game Pass, just like
Final Fantasy VII Remake.
When we get Final Fantasy VII Remake, it's going to pretty much 100% be in Game Pass. Like you can pretty much lock it in now. Like I was already predicting it will, but you can pretty much lock that one in now at some point. So I'm very excited to see what they do with that. So next story.
June? Do you think at E3? I'm sorry, I know you're moving on, but do you think like that could be like available now on Game Pass, like the day of Microsoft's E3 thing, or even slightly before that? I don't know. I feel like that could be a thing.
All we know is that the exclusivity with the PlayStation version is coming up that month, but we don't know the exact date. So it might not be a day and date thing, but I will.
Oh, I thought it was done already. I'm sorry.
I will hazard a guess that it will essentially be launched. They'll give us a release date for it that day, and it'll be that month. So even if it's not day and date, we will get like a June release date for Final Fantasy VII on Xbox in Game Pass.
Amazing.
Like that, it'll happen that day. But yeah. We will see about that. Speaking of Xbox, though, they are kind of crushing it financially.
We're always talking about Xbox.
It's fine, Sean. So we got the Xbox financials this week from basically their last quarter, essentially their last year, I guess. So Xbox hardware revenue is up 232%. Now, obviously, that's not unexpected at all because we know that it was naturally going to go up because the Series X and S are literally sold out everywhere. Like you can't buy one. Yep. So, I mean, obviously the hardware revenue was going to go up and massively spike. But the more interesting note, though, is total gaming revenue is up by over 50%. In addition, the company itself made $15 billion over the last 12 months, as opposed to the 10.3 billion that they made the 12 months the prior year. So this
was
is really
it the whole year? I thought it was just a quarter.
Xbox
I think it's just the 3 months, Ryan.
No.
Was that a full year?
That's a full year because this was basically their end of year wrap up. Essentially,
okay.
That basically ended like March 31st, essentially. Yeah.
I don't know why I think they make like $15 billion every 3 months. Like that sounds like it's about right too. Like what the hell do I know? You know. So Xbox is doing great, right? So we're all personally benefiting from this, Ryan.
I would think so. I would
the
think so.
The fanboys are acting like they are. I think all the financials are all coming out. So it's interesting. I think it's just kind of nice, and the positive spin on this is Xbox is doing great, and PlayStation's doing great, and Nintendo's doing great. So it's like probably a pretty good time to celebrate being a gamer right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Regardless of what platform you support, like all three companies are doing great, and that's awesome to see. Again, they're not like Amazon or Google who are kind of all over the place right now. But yeah, it's awesome to see Xbox doing well and exciting for the future. Like I'm really interested to see kind of how the financials are going to change like year over year. Like 2022, I think is going to be kind of the real test, especially with Halo coming later this year too.
Yeah,
I think that's going to probably spike sales a lot of both hardware and software. So yeah, it's cool to see Xbox doing well. Next up, and this is kind of a story that I don't know much about because I don't really play Apex Legends. We've got an Apex Legends story here. So Apex Legends adds a new permanent 3-on-3 arena mode. It's coming on May 4th, and it's going to do a whole bunch of other stuff. So Sean, is this 3-on-3 mode going to get you to come back to Apex Legends at all? Like, do you still play Apex Legends?
Actually, yeah. Like this is a snappier game mode in that, like, you know, battle royale games are, you know, fight to the death and be the last man standing and all that kind of stuff. Those are longer games, and this is 3v3. And to be honest, like I look at a game mode like I think it's called Gunfight, or I think it's called Gunfight in Call of Duty, where it's 2v2. And that is some of the funnest time I've had playing a first-person shooter, like somewhat competitively. So I think for anybody who like kind of wants to play Apex but doesn't really want to do like I want to loot for 20 minutes and then maybe I might find somebody, it can be an experience that a lot of people have. Like 3v3 is awesome, man. It's a little bit more like Counter-Strike, or probably closer to like Counter-Strike, or maybe even like a Valorant, because there's still class-based type of things, which you don't really have in Call of Duty. But yeah, I think for a free-to-play game, by the way, to have this extra mode added, I think is a big deal versus like you're really getting all your different multiplayer modes in the core Call of Duty experience. I'm really excited by this. There was a couple like details within the post there, the release, that was talking about how like Respawn is kind of reflecting on that they're really good at making shooters, and we can actually expect to see them testing more and different types of modes within Apex. And then I like to see them maybe even go back to Titanfall a little bit too, and training that audience to do something else other than Battle Royale. I think this is starting to like bridge the gap from that giant audience who plays class-based stuff in a Battle Royale to what Titanfall 2 is, which is a very different experience, even though they're based in the same universe. So for those reasons, I'm stoked about this, man. And again, it's a free game. Like it's just crazy how many different types of ways that you can play it. I'm glad to see that Apex has been successful for Respawn, because I think they're like top tier studio in the business.
Yeah, I'm glad that it's getting a lot of support as well. I know a lot of people are playing again. It's not the type of game that I'm personally into, but I love seeing Respawn do well because I love their games. So I'm glad to see that, you know, Apex Legends getting a lot of support. Again, that's why I'm like, this mode's cool. It's probably not going to get me to come play the game again, but I'm excited
I think
that people
I'll
are
call
excited
up Joel and Tony and everybody else. Like anybody who wants to try this with me, it's what is it, May 4th, I think it is, or May 6th or something like that? Yeah. So a lot of things happening on Star Wars Day, as it turns out.
All right, next up, Knockout City the dodgeball game from EA that we heard about not too long ago. It's going to launch on Xbox Game Pass Ultimate and EA Play on May 21st. So they announced the release date for it, but not only that, but it's coming to Game Pass day and date, which is pretty sweet. Again, this is the type of game that I think is perfect for this type of service. Again, like an online multiplayer game. I've always said before, like these are the type of games that you probably want on Game Pass. Just like Outriders, where like you get kind of the buzz in there and get a lot of people playing it, and it'll lead to more people picking it up. Again, this is another game that I'm probably not the target audience for. So I'm not super excited about this. I'll probably still try it because it's on Game Pass. But what do you think about this one, Sean? Are you excited to play some Knockout City?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think the first time I saw it, it was very looks like Fortnite. It's not really Fortnite. It kind of gives me those the Bleeding Edge kind of vibes as well. I don't know, but I might be with you in terms of like it's coming to Game Pass. If it fires up, isn't it interesting? Just like how games become popular or they don't become popular, right? Like, are we squashing that possibility just by saying that? Are we putting the bad energy out there? Like, even though we haven't really played it, I don't know that anybody has played it or has any opinion on it. I'm basing this entirely on like what it looks like and what has been presented to me. But it's going to be free with Game Pass. We probably could. That's probably the absolute best move that you can do with it. It's very much like what Rocket League did, of course, on PlayStation Plus and Fall Guys and as you mentioned, Outriders. It'll be interesting to see if Game Pass is enough for people to give that a try rather than maybe like a Games with Gold. I don't know if those are different, but that limited time where it's free, I'm not sure. I don't have a whole lot of hope for this game, but I don't want to be too negative about it. I don't know how else to.
I have more hope for something like this than Rocket Arena, which they did last year, which was kind of their multiplayer Rocket only game. Which again they charged for.
Looks the same as this.
Yeah, like it has like a similar look, but they charged, I think it was like $20 for it off the gate, but it wasn't in Game Pass and it wasn't in EA Play, and it very quickly came to EA Play. But I think it was too late probably for the game at that point. Where now we've got Knockout City, where again I'm hearing a lot more buzz of people being excited about this one. So I think it's probably going to be okay, especially because it's also in Game Pass. I think it's definitely going to help it. I just know that we're probably not the target audience for this game.
Maybe not.
But we'll see. Again, I know I'm going to try it, and maybe I'll actually change my mind on it. I mean, I'm the little change my mind guy. Just out here on my table.
It could be anything.
It could be anything. So yeah, I'm excited to play it probably at some point. And we'll see. May's a big busy month as well. Again, we got Mass Effect and Resident Evil. So
we do have Mass Effect.
That's going to be a lot of that month. So,
dude, speaking of 25 minutes ago, Luke Laura on the Xbox expansion pass put a little bug in my ear. He was like, he thinks that Mass Effect could come to Game Pass day and date. He could he could see that announcement happening. I was like, that would be a beast if they got that one. So we'll see.
So I'm gonna put the little doubt in your ear, Sean. I'm gonna put the doubt bug in there.
A couple other people have already since then, but yeah,
because I feel like. Even though they could announce it pretty close to the release date, the fact that there's no trial for the game leads to me to believe that it probably actually will not be in Game Pass. Like they've said, there's no trial, there's no you're gonna be paying $80 for this game when it comes out. So
put it on Game Pass, Phil.
I mean, it would be awesome if it was on Game Pass, but I don't foresee them doing that. I think it'll come to Game Pass eventually, but it'll probably be a year before we get it there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So. Last news story I wanted to touch on real quick, and this announcement came this morning to my inbox in the form of a press release. DC Fandome is returning on October 16th. For those that don't remember, DC Fandome last year was WB showing off all of their slate of games and TV shows and movie stuff for the DC universe. That's where we saw the Gotham Knights announcement as well as the Suicide Squad announcement. So WB Games is confirmed to be returning for this as well as the Injustice developers and NetherRealm Studios. So I think we're going to see some stuff at this event. So this is one to mark on your calendar, October 16th. That's probably where we're going to get the next update on Batman and Justice League or
that makes sense.
So
that makes way more sense to happen kind of in the late fall rather than forcing something in the spring. Will be much closer to when that thing is going to release. We know it's not either of those games are coming out this calendar year. So yeah, I think that's great. I think they've got a great thing going on with DC Fandome.
Yeah. So I'm glad that we've got some events taking shape because now we got we got E3 in a month and a half, and then we got DC Fandome at the end of the year. who knows what's going on with Summer Game Fest? I don't know if we ever left Summer Game Fest, Sean. They just said we may move to phase 2, and then they never said anything about it. So, I mean, you never know. I'm excited for DC Fandome. I'm excited to see more of those games, because especially Gotham Knights, because that game looked really cool and definitely up my alley, and I'm excited to see more of it later this year for next year. But Sean, well, let's let some of our friends into the car with us. It's time for the carpool. We only got one question this week. This one comes from Josh Stapelton at the Married to the Game Street Team at MTTG Street Team on Twitter. And he asks, long time, first time, when do you think we'll be able to walk into a store and purchase a Series X? I know that a few get released here and there, but I'm hopeful to be able to find one sometime in the near future. Sean, I've said this before on podcasts because we get this question every once in a while. I was hopeful that maybe by the end of the year, by the time Halo comes out, like people would be able to go into the store and buy one. Mm-hmm. But I really feel like it'll be next year. It'll be 2022.
Wow. Do you really?
Before then, because I think even though the United States is kind of getting back to normal, I think the chip shortage is very real for this.
Yeah, I think so too.
Between the PlayStation 5 and the Series X and S, like all three of them really use a lot of the same chip sets, and they're basically just pumping them out as fast as they can make it. But the countries that are developing them are some of the hardest hit by what's going on in the world right now. So
yeah,
I really think that the chip shortage is going to unfortunately continue until 2022 at the earliest. So especially with Halo coming out this fall, those Series X's and S's, I think are going to fly off the shelves when Halo comes out. In addition to that, so
even if they do ramp up production, even
if they get on the shelves, they're going to be sold out very quickly. So unfortunately, I think it's going to be a while before you see that. But I do sense that you're going to get more and more drops throughout the year. So, you're going to the frequency of the drops is going to probably increase, and the amount of units allocated for those drops is probably going to increase. But it'll be probably a year before we get to the point where we can go into your local Walmart and go buy one. Am I kind of off base with this one, or do you agree with this, Sean?
I mean, you make really good points, man. Like, what I would like to be able to say is obviously this year it's hugely important to Xbox, and Microsoft can wield a big sword and make it happen. But I think it's out of their control. Like, I think it's even outside of their buying power and the production of it all. To all of your points. Like, in order for Xbox to really make a splash, they got to catch up to PlayStation. There were some numbers that was suggesting how crazy the PS5 has been selling lately as well, which is maybe even 2-to-1 what the Xbox is doing. And in order for them to close the gap, the biggest piece that they have to do is just make the damn console available. But I think that's out of their hands. So I'm like, you caught me a little bit by just like the length of time, in that it could be up until next year. I would have hoped for sometime maybe even like around E3, hoping for they have some exciting announcements, maybe some like it's available now, or we've got some stuff happening in the summer. But I think you're probably right that it will probably be a bit of a struggle here. But it'll be interesting to see if they can even like differentiate between the X and the S. I don't know if like one is more difficult or less to produce and to manufacture than the other. Maybe they can get a head start with getting some Series S's out there for people who might be interested in that. But I don't know, man. I think you're right. I think it's going to be a bit of a struggle. It reminds me of the Wii days. We've been here before. But, Donnie and I on Sweet Hangs, people should go listen to that podcast, Sweet Hangs. We were just talking about if you don't have one, like really the conversation we were having was like, it's not really that big of a deal. If you don't have one yet, don't worry about it too much.
Yeah, especially because we don't have really exclusive content or anything like that at this point, other than the medium. Like, there's no real reason to have one other than, of course, the faster load times and stuff like that. But that's quality of life stuff that I think you can be okay with until the end of the year, and then save up your money and maybe buy some more games and stuff. So that when you finally get your console, you're going to have lots of stuff to play on it. And again, like you said, it's not a matter of money. Like, Microsoft has more money than PlayStation, but they're able to get fewer units produced than PlayStation, which is why like PlayStation's almost selling them 2-to-1, because they just physically can't make more of them, because it's not like they can throw money at the problem to make it go faster. Like, it's the chip shortage is very real at this point. So,
but the other thing, Ryan, the last thing I'll say on this is that a year after a console comes out is generally when you start to see like some of the custom consoles, like where there's either like a third party deal. Like, you had some wonderful stuff on the PlayStation side with I keep referencing the White Destiny version I got on my PS4. But those stuff kind of comes out about a year afterwards. So I would love to see them have not only more consoles for people to purchase, but different versions of the console. I'd love to have, going into year 2, having some cool design, like a Halo special edition. There's got to be that.
Yeah.
It's got to be one of the benefits of that game being delayed. Maybe now we can have a special edition console.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's going to be like a Halo special edition console that comes out next year. It just makes it makes so much sense, and they've done one for every Halo game. So I don't see why they wouldn't do one for this one. But enough about that, Sean. We got to go. But before we go, Sean, plugs go.
Ryan, you can find me on Twitter at Sean Capri, Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. I stream on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. We play Halo on Saturday. Everybody should join at twitch.tv/Sean Capri. And if you like the show, as Ryan mentioned at the top, you can support us at patreon.com/Yumi Capri.
Very nice, my friend. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at Ryan Turford. You also find us on Twitter at The Xbox Drive, on YouTube at youtube.com/The Xbox Drive, and on podcast services around the globe. So for Sean Capri, I'm Ryan Turford. This has been episode 187 of The Xbox Drive. Only 13 more episodes before 200, and we're out. Bye.
I don't know how I always forget that Brian is going to be doing this really long countdown up until episode 200, which, as it turns out, is probably going to land in and around my birthday when I turn 37 years old. I'm really excited to go inside and tell my son that I got him a set of Pokemon cards, and I don't know. Oh, I took a breath, so I have to say, bye.